think it was my third trip out as an aircraft commander, so I had some experience, but it was my first time in that theater. And we were tasked to support a very high-vis mission, and it had been stuck in planning for quite a while. So the mission was a long-range capture-kill mission for a high-value target. It was planned out pretty well in detail beforehand, but the target gets a vote, so we weren't able to execute on the plan, so we had to do a lot of on-the-fly planning to keep up with where he was going and what we wanted to do. We get to execution, and we are expecting a relatively small enemy presence. All of the intel beforehand pointed to mostly women and children and civilian males in the surrounding area. Once we got to execution and the helicopters went skids down, everybody gets off. It was immediately a firefight. In retrospect, when we did the roll-up afterwards, it was not a small enemy force. It was almost 200 enemy fighters. It was an enemy fighter barracks that they had gone after. And so that moment where it went from every other mission that I'd been on, which had gone pretty much according to plan, to now I'm in a situation that's time sensitive, there's lives on the line, and we cannot screw this up. I tend to be very aggressive, and originally at the beginning of my career I saw that as an asset. Part of that came from the fact that I was trained in the fighter community in the T-38s, where aggression is very valued. And the other part of that was because I thought that, hey, you know, this is the way leaders are. You have General Pattons of the world that are very aggressive leaders, and that was always kind of the stereotype that came to mind when I thought, what is good leadership? It was someone who is aggressive, makes the call, moves forward, is confident, all of those things. But this kind of moment made me think that, like, hey, maybe just being aggressive isn't it. Like, maybe it's not necessarily be aggressive all the time. Maybe it's be aggressive where you need to be and be conservative where you need to be. Make sure that if you're going to be aggressive about something, you need to back it up with either skill or experience or knowledge or something else. Humility. As a second or third rotation aircraft commander, you tend to have just enough knowledge to kind of be dangerous. You think you know what's going on. And the environment that we were going to go operate in and all of the aircraft we were going to operate with, we trained to do, but I had never actually done in the real world before. So it kind of was a wake-up call to me that I was maybe a little out of my element. Conveniently, every day we would have a sync with the ground force commander for the unit we were supporting, and everybody went by first names, so I didn't realize until 2 weeks into this planning process that I was talking to an Army Lieutenant Colonel. I had to get him to buy off on the ideas that I was pitching as the right thing to do with our airplane and our asset and the capabilities that we had, because I was the expert on it. But ultimately I had to get the ground force commander to sign off on where I wanted to be with the airplane, at what time, during what phase of the operation. So to do that, I had to have a lot of credibility as far as being the expert in the platform, but I also had to reach out and resonate with him in a fashion that he would then internalize what I was trying to tell him and change his viewpoint to match what I wanted. So the good thing about the crew that I had was it was always, I had to kind of pull back on the reins as opposed to trying to like be able to motivate them to do their jobs. They were very, very motivated. It was an important mission. We all knew that. The way I interacted with them, honestly, was probably by letting them kind of go and do, and only giving them kind of direction checks or vector checks. By not getting in his way, I was able to let him find something and innovate a new way of doing things that really helped us and still helps us to this day as far as mission execution goes. When we got on target and it was an immediate firefight, we were not expecting to be involved in the firefight right off the bat, but in the first 3 minutes of infill, of boots on the ground, there were 9 air-to-surface engagements. And he was on the radio talking to the JTAC, talking to the attack helicopters, and so once again, I just took my hands off a little bit and let him run the show because I knew we had that relationship. I trusted him, he trusted me to let him do his job, and we all kind of had our roles ironed out well beforehand. was definitely talking to the KAOC and trying to communicate to them, hey, here's the time, here's the game plan, here's the number of people we're going to have on the ground, here's where we need the bombs at. Also talking to directly to the pilots of those other aircraft. We were able to figure things out and kind of come to an agreement. Even though we didn't really have the authority to tell each other what to do, we were still able to influence the outcome. Normally, the JTAC is the one who puts out all of the sensor plans and everything else. So we didn't really have the authority to go, hey JTAC, here's the slides. But by working that relationship and building, again, that legitimacy and kind of working some influence, we were able to put out this product that when we got into mission execution and we did have that huge firefight, it probably saved a lot of lives, being able to just instantly retask people based on that contract. Out of all of this, whether we're talking about leading up, down, across, or beyond, was really that a good relationship can overcome a bad process, and having those relationships both with your subordinates as well as your superiors and then your peers and then other organizations is really what's going to allow you to put those leadership behaviors into practice and really pull an organization or in this case a crew and a mission from where it might have succeeded to where we absolutely did succeed 100%.